You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, produced by Alec Root on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live at 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. We're back. It is October 7th of the year of our Lord, 2018. It is chilly again today, but it won't be tomorrow. I think we're getting up to the 70s with some thunderstorms.
Yeah, a lot of rain, though, we've had. Lots.
A lot of rain. It feels like we go to school in Florida, not because it's been warm, just because it's been raining. Can't get enough of the rain here. Welcome. This is week 3 of our sophomore season here on The Squeeze. We have 3 guests coming in for you today. The first one is at 10:30, my track and field coach, Niels Anderson, but we're not going to talk track. Niels Anderson is one of the most personable and great guys you will ever meet. So we're just gonna talk to Niels today. Then at 11:10, my good friend from Chicago who goes to Louisville is gonna call in and talk some Cubs. As much as I don't want to talk about the Cubs, I feel like we have to, and I kind of have to retract a few of my statements that I made, the little arrogant Cubs fan that I am. And then at 11:25, Colin Sturr is gonna come in and we're gonna preview this NHL season, which I don't know much about. He hosted his first show with Stephen Reamer this past Thursday at 4 o'clock. Sadly, I missed it, but he said it went well, so I'm sure he'll talk about that later in the show. So we got 3 guests coming in today, 2 in the studio. One's going to call in at 11:10. 16-second squeeze. That is your chance to win a T-shirt. We're going to do 3 16-second squeezes today. What is a 16-second squeeze? Well, you call in and you will go up against a competitor that I have already interviewed, and you're going to answer a question like, Alec, name as many NHL teams as you can in 16 seconds. Go.
Wild, Blackhawks, Canadiens, Blues, Bruins. Oh my gosh. Kings, Golden Knights. 16 seconds.
Okay, 60 seconds. See, it's pretty hard. This is a pretty self-proclaimed great NHL fan, and he only named, 7 in 16 seconds. It's tough. That's what you're going to do when you call in for a 16-second squeeze. I'll let you know when to do that. That is for your chance to win a Squeeze T-shirt that we have on today. We've had 2 winners so far because we've had 2 weeks. One winner was Niels. Niels from La Crosse, who you'll be hearing from today. And the second was Lisa from Winona. So this is your chance to be the 3rd lucky winner of a Swaggy Squeeze T-shirt on the 16-second squeeze. So the wild card game. The wild card game was on Tuesday. So I sit down. The game starts at 7 o'clock. I sit down and I watch 3 innings of it. And it's 1-0 on a Nolan Arenado sac fly. Lester is dealing. Big game John Lester is dealing the baseball, and the offense is as anemic as ever, can't do anything. I have work at 8:30, and I was so angry that I left my dorm room at 8 o'clock. I couldn't take it anymore. The offense just leaving runners on base and really frustrating me, and I knew I had to go somewhere, so I just turned the TV off, turned my Xbox off, and I left. I had my girlfriend texting me the whole time. I had the ESPN updates rolling, but I didn't really want to see anything until the bottom of the 8th. The bottom of the 8th. It was a 1-0 game. Did you watch the game?
I watched the whole game.
So then bottom of the 8th, Javi Baez, they pinch run Terrence Gore, who's the fastest guy I've ever seen on a baseball field, for their best player, Anthony Rizzo. He then steals second base and then comes around to score on a Javi Baez double. Great, awesome. It stayed 1-1 until the 13th inning because, again, the Cubs offense couldn't do anything. Cole Hamels, who had a great second half, came out of the pen to shut down the Rockies for 2 innings. The bullpen looked great. The pitching looked great. That's what the whole second half was. We're going to talk about that later in the show. The whole second half, the pitching was great, and the offense just couldn't do squat. It wasn't fun. And then Chris Shepard, I don't know if you know him. I'm sure you do. He heard me screaming from outside. My window's always open over at Hillside, and he heard me screaming. He walked up to my room, knocked on the door. He wanted to watch the game. We watched the last 3 innings, and I went to bed not a happy camper.
It was a late night, too.
Late night. Had to get up the next morning at 8 o'clock for an 8 a.m. class, marketing. Gosh. But I did I wore my Rizzo jersey all day. I had to wear it, literally wear that the Cubs.
You make fun of it all?
I did a little bit. I got a couple compliments, but you can't just cheer for them when they win. You gotta stick with them the whole time. I'm sure you know. I mean, you're a Vikings fan.
Minnesota sports in general.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. So, I mean, the Brewers, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, they've only been to 4 postseasons. This is their 4th in their history of the franchise, and they've been to 1 World Series. They lost it. They've never won a World Series. So, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm not sure if I want to root for the Brewers. Ryan Braun is on the Brewers.
I think it's like I feel like it's a 2-team race for me now. That's what I like.
Dude, Dodgers
I don't think Braves and Rockies are.
Yeah, okay.
Do
Dodgers and Brewers.
Yeah.
So the Brewers are up 2-0, 2-0 over the Rockies, and the Dodgers are up 2-0 over the Braves.
It's only best 3 out of 5. So.
And it's best 3 out of 5 in the NLDS. That's a bummer. It hasn't felt like this as a Cubs fan in a long time. 2015, they lost. They got swept in the or in the NLCS. But that felt great because it was the first time there. Then 2016, most glorious moment of my life up until this point in 18 years on this earth. 2017, they again made it to the NLCS. Didn't get swept, almost got swept. They lost 4-1 to the Dodgers. And this year, you expected the same thing. You expected them to make it all the way over to the NLCS, go up against the Dodgers, and hopefully make it to another World Series. Well, then the Brewers went 8-0 for the last week of baseball. All the Cubs had to do, was go 5-3. But nope, they went 4-4.
Did they lose to like any bad teams? Who did they face?
They during the last week they played the Pirates, who were a sneaky good team in the second half. They played the Cardinals, who were a sneaky good team in the second half, and they also played the Brewers at the beginning of that week. It doesn't feel good when your team has the division lead for the entire second half and doesn't choke. The Cubs did not choke. And people are saying that the Cubs choked to me, and they're making fun of me, like with the choke sign and whatever. The Cubs didn't choke. The Brewers were freaking awesome. How are you going to beat a team that finishes the season at 8-0? How are you going to beat a team that practically has Babe Ruth? I mean,
unbelievable. Oh my God.
I don't know exactly what his numbers were, but during that week, all you would see were tweets of, Christian Yelich's last 10 at-bats, 2-run home run, walk, double, walk, grand slam. Like, it's just, he couldn't be stopped. He's the MVP, no doubt about it. Javi Baez had a chance before this week, and then Christian Yelich exploded. The Brewers haven't lost in 10 games. They're 10-0.
It's crazy. My dad was wondering, why would Miami deal Yelich? That's what I was wondering. Miami traded him last. Like, why?
I'm asking the same question.
That's why you're so bad, Miami.
That's why you're so bad. I mean, Derek Jeter walked in and just fire sailed the whole thing. They had 3 pretty good pieces. You knew Stanton was probably out of there because of his contract. It was massive. It was going to be massive. So you had to trade him for some prospects. They barely got anything back for Stanton. Then you had Ozuna and Yelich, cost-controlled, young, nothing but upside, and you trade them? Those are your building blocks. Those are your Anthony Rizzos in the rebuild. That's who you should have built around. You had 2 corner outfielders that were going to be a Marlin the next 4 years, but you sold them for pennies. And you sold them both to NL Central teams. Thanks a lot, Mike. Your dad has a very valid question, and I'm asking the same question. I don't necessarily have an answer for it.
I feel like Jeter just is going to probably be kicking himself because I don't see Miami in the next 5 years even doing anything. And then the Brewers are still they're kind of young, aren't they?
It
goes back and forth, I guess.
They're young, but a lot of their team is on the last year of their contract, or they're gonna, like, Braun is at the peak of his. I mean, he's at the downhill of his career. Eric Thames is at the downhill. Travis Shaw probably as well. The thing about big market, small market teams is the Cubs window is wide open for the next 10 years because you know what's going to happen if they can't sign these players?
They could get other ones.
They're going to trade them for prospects, and then you just retool and you start again. Or you can go out this year and sign Manny Machado, or you can go sign Bryce Harper. Did you see the odds, by the way, from Vegas?
No.
Even odds for the Cubs getting Bryce Harper this offseason.
I can't see him going back to that.
No way. I mean, his dog's name is Wrigley, so we all know what that means. But that's what being a big market team does. It expands your window. The Brewers, a small market team, you can still have a window. The Kansas City Royals have proven that. They went to 2 World Series in 2 years, and they won one of them. they're a small market team, just as small as the Milwaukee Brewers are. You can still have that window, but it's not going to be 10 years long like it will be for the Cubs. It's going to be 2 or 3 years long. And they're in that window right now because they're not going to be able to go out and sign a Bryce Harper. They're not going to be able to prolong this as long as the Cubs are, but they're a gosh darn good team this season. And I said it last week. I said, they feel like the team of destiny. I feel like they are going to go all the way.
And also, I feel like this is the best time, too, because I feel like the Red Sox and the Yankees, like, they're so good right now. Like, Harper, as you said, next year, like, Red Sox and the Yankees are probably going to sign him. Like,
yeah,
it's a team more like the
maybe.
Cubs.
Yankees maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But just how good they are now, I don't know if they would be able to. So this is probably the time.
This is the time. If the Brewers are going to do anything, this is the year because if you listen to any bit of Theo Epstein's exit interview to the press last weekend or this past weekend, he's hungry and he's going to make this team be hungry because he wasn't happy. And I'm sure nobody in that locker room was either. This is the last week before fall break. Next weekend, we do not have a show. It is midterms this week. We're all getting a little bit stressed. Tiny bit.
I only have like one test.
Okay. I mean, I have the one test in news writing.
Sure, me too.
And then we have to write the news story, which is tough. 2 guys writing.
It's a draft.
It is a draft, I guess. But we're both writing on the parking lot. Very intriguing stuff.
Which one are you writing?
I'm writing about the snow removal policy in the parking lot. And you're writing about the
Brother Leopold, that we overflow, and then I come home from tennis practice at 10 o'clock and have to go park and overflow and walk in the pouring rain for 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, so we had the guidelines to talk about anything that would interest the St. Mary's community, anything, and we both picked parking lots independent of each other.
Talk to campus safety.
I already talked to campus safety. Neil White's very great guy. I had a nice interview with him. There's actually a third person in our class of 19 that is also writing a story about the parking lot. So that's great.
Very ordinary.
Yeah. So last night, both the men's soccer and women's soccer team lost some games that they probably should have won. I wanted to talk to Maura Mishner today. Couldn't get her on the show, but I did look up her career statistics because she has a very cool story. Last week, we talked about Brandy Blattner and her All-American honors that she's had and her 4 awesome seasons that she's consistently put together. Maura Mishner has a different story. She's from Winona. She went to the Cotter School Systems. She's a biology major, and she's a senior here at St. Mary's. She's had 3 seasons as a women's soccer Cardinal. Her first season as a sophomore, she played 17 games and she had 1 goal. Her second season was cut short by injury, but she played 15 games and did not score. This season, already in 12 games, she has 7 goals for a career total of 8. What a turnaround for Maura Mishner. I mean, is there anything that you know that she's doing differently? Maybe it's the offense is structured a little differently.
She is fast.
She's very fast.
Do you know what her injury was?
It was a knee injury. I do remember seeing her in the physical training room. She ran track for a couple seasons. I know maybe Niels can talk about that. She did quit track last season to focus on soccer, and maybe that focus is paying off because she already has 8 goals this season, octupling her goal total. That's not a word.
Well, from announcing, it's mostly all of her goals when like the midfielders kick it, and then she just outruns the defenders, and then most of her goals I think have been pretty breakaway and shots.
Neither of us made it to the game last night, either of the games yesterday, but apparently her goal was just absolutely beautiful from outside the box, a curler. I wish I could have saw it. The Cardinals ended up losing to the College of St. Ben's, who's had a pretty, St. Ben's has had a pretty good season thus far. Both teams have underperformed, the men and women's team. The men's team still, surprisingly enough, has a chance to make it to the playoffs. We looked it up. They're in 9th place right now, I believe, but the 4 teams in front of them, they play against. So if they can win out, we've been saying it every single week, if they can win out the next 4 or 5 games in the MIAC, welcome to the playoffs, St. Mary's Cardinals. It's going to be tough. It's a gauntlet, but it's possible.
Yeah, we were looking, if they would have beat Jens yesterday, it would have been a lot easier, but that Bethel win's huge when you look at it. So if they just play like they did there and beat the teams that are kind of like Bethel, you never know. They have a shot.
So, did you watch the Conor McGregor fight yesterday?
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just I missed it. So let me know what happened.
So Conor McGregor was facing, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but he goes by Khabib, and they were fighting for like the lightweight title in Las Vegas, and Khabib defeated Conor McGregor, and then right after that was done, Khabib pretty much, it looked like he escaped the octagon to go fight someone outside the octagon, and then McGregor's trying to reboot after he just got he lost by submission, and then McGregor's 3 guys come and beat the crap out of, Khabib's 3 guys come and beat the crap out of McGregor inside the ring, and then I guess everything just broke loose. And
it was mayhem.
3 people got arrested, I know, from Khabib's team, and McGregor decided not to press charges though, which is good, I guess. But
so we're in the same sports management class, and it's practically a sports management law class. What's the
risk management.
What's the risk management of a person going into a UFC fight and getting beat up by one of the fighters? Is that on the back of the ticket, do you think?
I could see it.
Maybe. I don't know. In baseball, you always see on the back of the ticket, watch out for baseballs, watch out for bats. But I guess now on UFC, they're going to have to print, watch out for incoming fighters.
Well, the thing I was wondering too, their president, like he was saying how bad of a night this was for like UFC and how like disappointing he is, like
Dana White.
Maybe it wasn't a bad night.
Yeah,
like
we're talking about it.
A rematch. They already said a rematch is going to come. Like, I don't really, unless someone got hurt in the fans that didn't intend to fight anyone, I would say it'd be bad. But
if you look at the video, the fan that it came up over the octagon, he sucker punched McGregor from behind. It was some brutal stuff. Khabib is 27-0 now,
and McGregor lost 4 already. So
and McGregor is one of the most polarizing athletes today. He's just one of the biggest stars, and he runs his mouth quite a bit. And in back-to-back fights now against Mayweather boxing, and then last night against Khabib, he's not held up to what his mouth has done. So 507-457-1615. That is the contest line. We're looking for a contestant on the 16-second squeeze. We're going to take it to break here, but 507-457-1615 is the number that you want to call if you want to win a Squeeze t-shirt. 507-457-1615. You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, produced by Alec Rude on KSMR Radio. We're going to take it to break here right now. You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi, produced by Alec Rude on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live on 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR. KSMR, Real College Radio. We do have a contestant for the 16-second squeeze. Christina from Chicago, how are you doing on this fine day?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you ready to take on Claire, Teresa, or Des on the squeeze, on the 16-second squeeze here today?
Yes.
Okay. Who would you like, Claire, Teresa, or Desmond?
I'll take Claire.
You'll take Claire. Okay. Claire had 16 seconds to name as many holidays as she could. 16 seconds to name as many holidays as you can in 3, 2, 1, go.
New Year's, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, Columbus Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's it. How many did she get, Alec?
She had 7.
7. Okay, that might be good enough to win a t-shirt here on the 16-second squeeze. Thank you so much for calling, Christina from Chicago.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, let's hear from Claire. She had 16 seconds to name as many holidays as she could. Christina had 7.
7.
Let's see what Claire does.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, President's Day, Flag Day, 4th of July, New Year's, St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I think 8. I got 8.
I had 8.
Okay, so Christina from Chicago, you are at a -1, continuing the trend of contestants going under 0.
I was shocked how long it took her to say Christmas.
Christmas.
That was like her 7th one.
Christmas, Thanksgiving were her last 2. How can you? Claire's pulling Flag Day out of nowhere, and you just can't figure out Christmas and New Year's. But so thank you, Christina from Chicago for calling the 16-second squeeze. If you want to win a t-shirt on the 16-second squeeze coming up, I will let you know when to call. It's a pretty fun game, and these are some pretty cool t-shirts. So just call in if you want to win one here on the squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi. We already kind of talked about the 2 soccer games that took place yesterday. Neither of us made it out to those games, so I'm going to read the always great Donnie Nadeau email update that he sends to all the students after every game. That man, again, is very committed to his job. He's very good at his job, and he loves St. Mary's sports. So St. Ben's was 3-5-1 entering the game. Doesn't sound that daunting until you look at the losses. 3 of those 5 losses came from top 25 ranked opponents in the nation. They also took down Augsburg 2-1. The Augies had earlier beaten the Cardinals 6-0. Remember that? What was her? Ashley St. Alban. That was the Augsburg girl who had 3 goals and 2 assists or something crazy like that. So Augsburg took down the Cardinals 6-0, but this team had beat Augsburg 2-1. That record of 3-5-1 is not as bad as it looks. When it comes to scoring goals, St. Mary's University of Minnesota's Maura Mishner has had the Midas touch this season. The senior, who had scored just once in her first 2 years as a member of the St. Mary's women's soccer team, netted her team-leading 7th goal of the season Saturday afternoon against St. Benedict. Unfortunately, the Bennies had found the back of the net 3 times before Mishner's goal in the 73rd minute, as St. Benedict dealt the Cardinals a 3-1 MIAC conference setback at the Big O, because I can't pronounce Okremovich.
I never can.
Is that it?
That's pretty close.
Okay, Okremovich from Niels in the back, who we'll hear from in just a moment. St. Benedict scored the only goal of the first half as Megan Thompson corralled a through ball from Nicole Newman and beat Cardinal goalkeeper Gabriella Peterson for her 3rd goal of the season. The Bennies did not waste any time coming out of the halftime break as Brianna Griffin rifled a shot past Peterson and into the upper right corner just 1 minute and 25 seconds into the second half, which has been a repeated occurrence here this season for the Cardinals. And Thompson would make it 3-0 with her 2nd of the game 13 minutes later. Mishner lofted a bomb over the head of CSB goalkeeper Kaylee Thulin to get the Cardinals on the board at the 73rd minute, but it was little too late. Peterson finished with 2 saves in goal for St. Mary's, while Benny starter Kendall Cohen made a pair of saves before giving way to Thulin, who stopped the only shot she faced in the game's final 21 minutes. The Cardinals are now 0-6 in the MIAC, 5-7 overall, and they're back in action on Tuesday, traveling to St. Peter, Minnesota for a 4 p.m. conference matchup against Gustavus. St. Mary's is at the bottom of the MIAC, and they have not won a MIAC game since 2015.
Yeah, it seems like all their scores, like just looking at them, are like 3-1, 2-1. Like it feels like their offense is only producing, like they're either not scoring or they're getting a goal a game, and then I feel like they're just allowing like 2-3 goals a game. So they got to figure it out to keep it as a tie or possibly a win. But their schedule looks a little favorable. Yeah,
they're in last place, and their next 5 games are against people who are in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Exactly.
So again, if they can turn this season around, there's a chance that they make it into the MIAC playoffs. Not looking too good, as we just said. They haven't won a MIAC game since 2015. I've been saying it all season. They're a young team, and they're exciting. 9 of their best 11 players are freshmen or sophomores. But you said that seems to be the story every season. Every season we're saying, they're young, they're going to get better. So hopefully we can start seeing them get better the second half of this MIAC season. The boys took action against the St. John's Johnnies, who are 6-2-1 going into yesterday's game. Their 2 losses of the season were to the Tommies and the Augies, 2 teams that we played very well. St. John sits in 3rd place in the MIAC with a 4-2 conference record. Coming off a 1-1 double overtime tie against Carroll on Wednesday. I don't even really want to talk about that one. They should have swept the floor with Carroll, who are 0-9-2. Yeah, who are now 0-9-3 because the Cardinals tied them in double overtime. Tie against their 4th overtime goal in their last 5 outings. It appeared as if the St. Mary's University of Minnesota men's soccer team would be putting in some more overtime once again Saturday afternoon against St. John's. Unfortunately for the Cardinals, the Johnnies had other ideas. St. John's scored a pair of goals 59 seconds apart late in the second half, dealing St. Mary's a 3-1 MIAC conference setback at Okremovich Field. The Johnnies stuck early to take a 1-goal lead, getting a goal from Ben Becker just 2 minutes into the first half. St. Mary's answered in the 21st minute as Josh Balsiger netted his team-leading 5th goal of the season, taking a feed from freshman John-Luke Nahorski and beating Johnny goalkeeper Peyton Spencer. The game would remain deadlocked through the final 24 minutes of the first half and the first 38 minutes of the second half. And then the Johnnies struck twice. Zach Boren picked up a loose ball off a deflection on a Cardinal corner kick and raced 70 yards untouched, beating St. Mary's goalkeeper Jimmy Perral to put St. John's in front 2-1. Less than a minute later, Rene Cabrera gave the Johnnies some breathing room, curling a shot that hit the inside of the left post and nestled into the net for his first goal of the season. Perral, making his first start of the season, finished with 4 saves and goal for the Cardinals, while Spencer stopped 7 of St. Mary's 8 shots. The Cardinals are now 1-3 in the MIAC, 4-7-1 overall, and they're back at action on Wednesday, also traveling to St. Peter, Minnesota for a 4 p.m. conference showdown with Gustavus. With their 1-3 record in the MIAC, the Cardinals sit in top. Only Bethel and Concordia, who are both winless. Again, it's just this team should be doing a lot better than they are, and I don't exactly know why they're not performing. You want to see these really good athletes who you know personally do well and have their work pay off for them, and it's just not happening this season.
I think Alberto Centeno, losing him for these last couple of games, I feel like if he played yesterday, like Jimmy only gave up 3 goals and nothing against Jimmy, but I feel like just Centeno and Mateo Means being out, like even was Robbie out?
Robbie Wolso was out with a head injury. Yeah, a couple players collided before the Carroll game.
That was bad.
Yeah, injuries are never fun, and especially head injuries are very scary in soccer more than anything. I mean, you never really hear about it in soccer. It's one of the most dangerous sports. It's up there with football and hockey for head injuries because you're constantly heading the ball. You're constantly leading with your head when you go up to head the ball, and you can collide with other players.
And Robbie and Centeno, when they collided, like there was no one even around them either. It was just miscommunication.
Yeah, and I mean, like we've said, Robbie Sobczak, every time there's a 50-50 ball, every time there's a ball in the air, he's going for it because it's Robbie's ball.
Robbie,
Robbie, as always. Well, Niels, if we have my track and field coach, Niels Anderson, who is a friend of the show. One of the reasons we actually have the name The Squeeze came from Niels Anderson. He always likes to remind me of that.
That's right.
When we make it big here, he's going to take all the credit. I'm going to
get some, I just want 1%.
The
future earning potential. That's all. And I'll put it all towards the track program.
Oh, perfect.
So it'll all be good. Yeah.
So, Niels, this is your first season as the head coach of the cross-country team as well. That's a lot of extra stuff that you have to do.
Right.
How is that? I mean, how is that going so far?
Well, it was one of these, give credit where credit's due. Ward had been there Ward Barrett was the previous coach, and he'd been there for 13 years, has a couple young kids, and all of a sudden coaching and having young kids is really tough. And so, he was looking for something that offered a little bit more stability as far as the hours in the day and those kinds of things. So it was his time, and he's, gave a lot of great years to St. Mary's. So then when that opened up, we basically redefined the position a little bit. So now we have an assistant cross country and assistant track, and then I'm head cross country at track. And so that's been really nice to have that extra body. It is, for me, it's a lot of extra work too, but I think we'll be able to kind of maneuver things around here so that hopefully in years to come that we even redefine it again as a new job description for me, and that the assistant cross country can take on hopefully a head role, and then I could be more of like a director for all the programs. And, as long as we can continue to grow both programs as far as just probably more enrollment as much as anything. And obviously with our sports, enrollment is a huge factor for how competitive you are. If you look at the top teams in our sports, they have a ton of bodies. In track, you have 21, 22 events at a conference championship. And if you don't have 60, 70, 80 people to fill those events, then, and just per gender, then you're not going to be very competitive. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. Build the team up that way.
Build the team from the ground up, which is something you've done with the track team. When you got here, there were only 6 kids on the team.
Yeah, it was pretty poor. Yeah, it was in bad shape.
A remarkable turnaround in the 5 years that you've been.
Yeah, 5 years. So this is my 6th year.
Okay, 6th year. You have 2 new assistant coaches. One was a former athlete, Cody Michaels. Can you tell me about both of them and how they've impressed you so far this early season? Yeah,
so they're, it's great to get new blood in because obviously they're really motivated. Cody just graduated. He's a first team all-conference hurdler. He's going to take over the sprints and hurdles for us. And then that allows me to be the jumps and multis coach. And then Cody, he's 5'8". And the hurdles, if you ever see a hurdler in college, they're all 6'6". They're all really giant guys. So Cody he's a master technician. He's one of the best technicians I've ever seen. And so it's really great to have those, hopefully we'll bring in some tall wonders of the world. And, he'll be able to take those guys to a whole new place, which is really exciting in the hurdles. And obviously he's a great sprinter too. So, and then Nick Larson is our new coach for the cross country side of things. And he was a high school coach for quite a while, had a ton of state championships under his belt that he gets to lay claim to. And then he spent the last 3 years, and when you say volunteer assistant, that undermines how much he did, but he was a volunteer assistant at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, he was involved in it. He traveled with them. He went there. He got mountains of apparel, like everything that kind of goes along with being a coach. He received all the benefits except for, of course, a paycheck. But he took that experience and levied it into a job here at St. Mary's, and he's really phenomenal. He's a grinder for sure. I mean, he's just. The funny story about him is I asked him. I said, "What do you do in your free time?" He's like, "Oh, I really like to look up results of meets and things like that." And I'm like, "No, I mean like if you're untrack, uncross country related fun activities, like no, that's it. I like to dig around." And I'm like, "Oh man, you're hired. You're hired so fast. I'm getting you on board because my idea of fun isn't necessarily digging around the internet trying to find names of kids. That isn't I like talking to kids. I don't necessarily like just, sitting on, on all these websites, just finding times and names and writing them down and putting them all onto the spreadsheets. Yeah. That's what he loves to do. And I'm like, let's go.
Perfect.
This is perfect. Yeah.
So I remember sitting in this exact seat with you sitting in that exact seat last season when I said the words, I don't think the Brewers have enough. I don't think they have enough starting pitching.
Right.
They then finished with the third best ERA in baseball, and their starting pitching may not have had a lot to do with that. It was mainly the bullpen, but I was wrong. And I was okay admitting that I was wrong.
Well, you were right for like 90% of the season.
99% of the season.
99.9.
And those people that I was talking about who said that the Cubs choked, you were one of them earlier this morning.
Yeah.
And I immediately shot it down. I was like, the Cubs didn't choke.
Right.
The Brewers just were amazing.
Turned it on. Yeah.
8-0.
Yeah. When it mattered most. Yeah.
Exactly. You almost can't beat that. The Cubs did have a 5.5 game lead September 9th. And I wouldn't consider it a dismantling. I wouldn't consider it choking.
Right.
They ran out of gas. That's all it was.
Yep.
So, are you a big Brewers fan?
What's funny is I am a sports fan that I would say I'm not a baseball fan per se, though I get caught. I'm one of these guys that you probably hate as a sports radio host that I get caught up in storylines and then I follow it.
Okay.
And then I jump on the bandwagon and you're like, oh, I hate those guys. Yeah. So that's probably what happened here with this. I can't say I listen to baseball, but I follow it enough, and I get excited. Being in Wisconsin, I live in Wisconsin, so it's pretty funny when you cross over the river and you listen to sports radio or you listen to the news on the nightly news or the paper or everything. It's all Wisconsin all the time. I grew up in Iowa. I'm always been a Vikings fan, but now, for the last 12 years, I've been in Wisconsin, just being slowly indoctrinated, slowly, being corrupted to the dark side. And so I probably, if I picked a team, I would pick the Brew Crew as my favorite team.
But you're from Iowa.
But I'm from Iowa. See, I don't have any good, strong. Right. The Cubs are their minor league systems right there. So
I don't know if you know about this. You probably don't because you're not a baseball fan. But MLB has ridiculous blackout restrictions, and a blackout restriction is when you're in a market, you can't stream the games from that specific market. Iowa is in the black hole of all black holes. They can't watch the Cubs, the White Sox, the Brewers, the Royals, or the Cardinals. They can't watch it.
So they have to be Twins fans.
So I don't understand
They're still living off of that 92 Kirby Puckett home run in the whatever inning that was to secure the big win, the World Series. Yeah.
But could you imagine that being a fan? If I went to school in Iowa, that might have been the biggest thing that turned me away from going to school.
Good, I'm glad. All right. So to my advantage.
So who's you said you're a Vikings fan? Is that your biggest?
Yeah. So again, I said I grew up in Iowa, which of course has no professional sports. Which anytime you mention the word Iowa, you're reminded by anyone that's a Minnesota or Wisconsin person that Iowa means idiots out wandering around, no professional sports, all those kinds of things. So you're kind of
it's a third world state.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's a million. I've heard them all.
My grandma's from. My mom is from Iowa. Both of my grandparents are from Iowa. So.
Yeah, exactly. So when you live there, you're kind of relegated to say, okay, I could either be if I'm talking football, a Bears, Packer, or Viking, and I was 2.5 hours. My first professional game. It's kind of a funny story, was at Minnesota for a Vikings game. And the funny thing about that game, if you have just a 10-second little, it broke a record. The first NFL game I ever went to broke the NFL record for most field goals in a game.
Well, exciting.
And so the final score was 18-15. And it was all field goals. It was unbelievable. Nobody could score a touchdown. It was hilarious. It was oddly exciting, because it was a last-second field goal, and all of a sudden they were announcing that this game had exceeded the most field goals ever in the hit, and then we're like, field goal. We want more field goals because we knew we're gonna be part of a record-breaking game. It was 15-12 or 18-15, I can't remember, but it was one of those two. So nobody could score. So that was my first ever game that I had gone to, and then that kind of got me into to be a Vikings guy.
Did you ever have interest in playing football? Or did you...
Well, okay. Again, now you're calling back on some good memories here. 7th and 8th grade, B squad.
Here we go.
Here we go. 24 catches, 6 touchdowns. I got all the stats.
He's got the numbers.
So the funny thing is on football was I went to Decorah High School in Iowa, and my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, we were state champs.
Oh, okay.
So I became a runner. That's basically my story. I started running when I knew I was never going to get off the B squad, and so it's kind of. I honestly think I would have played football at any other school in Iowa, except for the school that I was at, because we were so dominant. We had. I could just start telling you all the D1 kids that we had on our team, and we had all these D1 football coaches showing up to our school all the time. The Hawkeyes were the big beneficiaries of a lot of our players, and you and I, and just a lot of really unbelievable talent. So that's how I got into running. By default, totally by default. So anyway,
is your high school still at that caliber?
Yeah, so my, like I said, my freshman, sophomore year, junior year, we lost one game in totality, and that was my junior year to the team that we then went on to beat in the playoffs rather resoundingly, and that was the only game we lost. And then my senior year we lost in the semifinals, but then my cross country team, we won the state championship, baby.
Hey.
So yeah, it was
big part of that, I assume.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was in the mix there. So
I think that was reliving the glory.
Yeah, like you guys want to be, you got me on to the radio to talk about my Decorah High School glory days. Yeah.
Last week my sister came in and she sat right where you were, and she's like, "Can I talk about grade school sports?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe not.
It's a little rough.
And here we are the next week talking high school sports.
Exactly.
Just, right where we came from. So we had a fun conversation just a couple hours ago about rooting for the team that beat your team.
Right.
What's your opinion?
I think I've had a little bit of time to kind of ruminate on that a little bit.
Okay.
And so now I've got it. I think I've got my philosophy
Here we go.
Pretty well nailed down. So basically, like I said earlier, I'm a little bit of a fair weather fan. So in sports that I have the least amount of buy-in for, I will allow myself to navigate towards rooting for the team that beat my team, if that makes sense. So, for instance, if my Minnesota Vikings get beat by the Green Bay Packers and they're in the NFC North, I'll start rooting for the Pack or the Lions or the Bears, whoever it kind of is. I'll because I'm a fan, but not like a super fan. I was using the analogy that if you're a Miami Dolphin, if I was a Miami Dolphin fan, I would never, ever cheer for the Patriots. I would only cheer for them to lose, even if they're in my division. So, and then I was even thinking about our conference, and I'll steer clear of some names, but I think everybody will know what we're talking about, that the closer I am to a sport, the less likely I want that team that beat me to go on to continue to have success, especially if it's a perennial powerhouse juggernaut that you're just sick of hearing their name. And again, if I use the professional sports, then obviously the Patriots, I just don't care. I just want them to lose. I want them to lose badly. I want them to be humiliated. I need them to fall off of their high horse. So it's like, no, it's exactly right. So there's that, it kind of depends policy for me a little bit, but basically, if I answered that question with a blanket statement, and this goes a little bit contrarian to what I said earlier, but I don't like certain teams, and I don't want them to win. I never want them to win. And when they lose, I'm happy. And so if they, but then again, if I don't really care about the the sport as much, then I am kind of rooting for my team. So that's not a very good answer, except that in the MIAC, there's a team that I always want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
In football, there's a team that I always want to lose. And in basketball, the funny thing is I love Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
I love Kevin Durant. I love the individuals on that team, not like as players, but I can't stand them collectively.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that Kevin Durant left the Thunder to go to the winning team
without even telling his teammates.
Yeah, no, that obviously sticks in my craw. And so now I can't stand them. And then knowing that they're going to win just makes it no fun.
What's the point of watching?
Yeah, what's the point of watching? So, I think in general that idea is I don't want them to do well. How about you?
That's about what I was going to say. I was talking to Alec a second ago or before the show started, and I said I am going to be the biggest meme Bears fan there is because I am a fair weather fan through and through.
Yeah.
I could not care less if the Bears suck. I could not care less if the Bears win the Super Bowl. I probably would go. I would go nuts if the Bears win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But there would be no price to pay for it because I'm still feeling a little bit sad from the wild card loss. If the Bears lose out, it would just be, whatever. What's that expression? Something off my back?
Yeah, no, what is that? No, something off your shoulder.
Skin off my back.
No, skin off my
there
back.
It is.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so let's say the Bears, like you said, the Bears are my fair weather thing.
Yes.
The Bulls are my fair weather team. The Blackhawks are as fair weather a team as I can possibly think of because I could not care less about hockey.
Right.
But the Cubs, I watched both games, Rockies, Brewers. I watched both games that have happened, and I rooted, clapped, screamed for the Rockies.
There we go.
Wanted the Brewers to lose in amazing fashion.
Yeah, right.
Even
though the Brewers don't have a tradition of winning, even though this is their one pie in the sky moment, that they're not going to maybe have this collection again.
Yeah.
They're not, you're not going to give them their one little, hey, this is your year. Good luck. Go get it.
No.
I'm just making sure that
the Brewers, let's say the Twins this is their one pie in the sky moment.
Yeah.
They don't do much ever. Mm-hmm. That was last year. I rooted for the Twins because who do they play in the wild card game? They played against the Yankees.
Yeah.
So I want the Twins to beat the Yankees.
Right.
If you're going to try to beat my Cubs and you do beat them, no chance that I'm rooting for that team that beats my Cubs.
So I think we got the theory figured out here.
I think we do. Alec, do you want to weigh in?
It's tough. I think it depends, like you said, on the team. Like, if it's a team that they've got Kevin Durant and stuff, and they've got this kind of unfair team, I would say, like the Yankees. I just don't like them. But if they beat you and stuff, I kind of agree. It's you guys beat us. The Eagles, when they beat the Vikings, I don't like the Patriots either. But I was I don't really want the Eagles to win either. So no, it goes both directions. I say
right.
It depends.
And you're not a staunch Twins fan, so it was not fun when they lost to the Yankees in the playoffs last year, but it didn't hurt you. You weren't actively rooting against the Yankees when they went on in the playoffs, were you?
Because I knew the Twins were probably not going to beat the Yankees.
So I guess it's just whichever sport is your sport that you love to watch, and that's your team. And if your team loses, it hurts you personally, which it shouldn't, but it does. You root against whoever beat them.
And I think we can add that caveat that there are, and we can name them very easily, very quickly. I think we already have. There are certain teams that no matter what, we hate them for their success.
Yep.
And it's not just individual, one-time, momentary success. It's sustained success at a very high level. So we don't like Golden State. We don't like New England. We don't like the Yankees. I mean, you kind of can pick there's these iconic names that you're I'm really tired of this. And it doesn't matter how long the Yankees were bad.
Yeah.
Now they're good again, and now I hate them again.
Exactly.
I liked when they were down.
So I'm a fair weather Bulls fan.
Mm-hmm.
When in 2010, 2011, 2013, when D Rose was one of the best players in the NBA, I was a big Bulls fan.
Right.
I watched all the playoff games, and I was happy when they won and sad when they lost. I hated LeBron James with a passion. He was my least favorite player. I thought he was the worst person in the world because he was against my team.
Yep.
But now I love LeBron James. I think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I want him to beat the Warriors every single season.
Absolutely.
Because the Warriors are now that thing.
Right. They have usurped the whole King LeBron.
Yeah.
When LeBron went down to the Miami Heat and they became that juggernaut team he left at the decision.
That was the Warriors.
That was the Warriors of that time. So I think what you really want to, though, say is that good for all of sport to have the arch enemy, to have that person that you just hate.
Yeah.
It is, when you all get it done and you figure it all out and you go, wait, I wouldn't necessarily like sports if I didn't have somebody I hated. I need somebody to hate because that creates massive amount of buy-in. And so I'm sure every commissioner of each one of these leagues loves that these teams perpetuate their greatness so that it, that fanaticism of being a fan kind of kicks in.
Okay, well, 507-457-1615. We want some callers for the 16-second squeeze after the break. 507-457-1615. We were sitting in here for 20 minutes. That was some great stuff with Niels Anderson. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, anytime.
And again, he's a big friend of the show, big friend of mine, and an awesome coach, awesome role model for me. So 507-457-1615 to be on the 16-second squeeze. We're going to go to break. Here you are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live at 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota. KSMR Real College Radio. You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, produced by Alec Rude on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live at 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. We have Scott from Chicago here to take part in the 16-second squeeze. Say hi to the people, Scott.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well.
Okay, so we already had Christina with a -1. She took on Claire. Who do you want, Scott from Chicago, Teresa or Desmond?
I'll take Teresa.
Okay, Teresa had 16 seconds to name as many house pets as she could. House pets in 16 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
Cat, dog, fish, bird, ferret, guinea pig, hamster.
That's it. How many did you get?
I had 7.
7. That was impressive. House pets. 7 house pets in 16 seconds. Thank you for calling, Scott from Chicago. We'll let you know if you have won the Squeeze t-shirt. So 7 for Scott from Chicago. Teresa had 16 seconds to name as many house pets as she could. Here's how she did.
Cat, hamster, gerbil, snake, gecko, lizard, hermit crab, fish.
I counted 7.
Yeah.
So Scott had 7.
He's
Teresa had
yeah.
7. Christina from Chicago, you're out. You're at -1. And Scott is in the lead with a 0, a big fat 0. 7 and 7. Gecko lizard? Gecko lizard, is that, are those two different things?
I think so.
Okay, gecko and lizard are two different
I
things.
guess.
I feel like a gecko is a lizard, but I don't think it is. I think they're
But a
different
lizard
things.
could be another thing.
That's true. So gecko lizard, that works.
We finally got someone that's not negative.
Finally, we got a 0. A 0 might win today. Okay, well, it's already 10:57. This first hour flew by, as they have seemed to do here this season so far on the Squeeze. But you know what happened on Friday morning? 21 Pilots came out with a new album called Trench. Woo-wee! I woke up to that notification. I have not opened my phone with more veracity in my life. I downloaded all of them, and I've listened to the album 5 times through already in 2 days. 5 times through. I just sat in my car and I just listened to it real high. It's great. This is not an advertisement. I'm just telling you, it's freaking awesome. Go buy it. Go stream it. Go do whatever you can do to listen to this album, because I think it's their best one so far. I've been a 21 Pilots fan since 2011, just 7 years. And this, I'm telling you, this is the best album that they've.
Have you been to any of their concerts?
I've been to 3. I've been to 3 of their concerts. I refuse to see them in a stadium because I saw them first, everybody. So they're mine. I'm not going to ever see them in a stadium because I saw them 3 times in a small, tiny little venue. I sat front row I stood front row every time. Wow. I actually, one of them, I went by myself, letting everybody know that I'm a loser. When I was 13, I went by myself to a 21 Pilots concert, and because I was by myself, I could just squeeze my little 13-year-old body up to the front because I didn't have to worry about anybody, and I had a time of my life. 21 Pilots is an awesome live show. They're an awesome band. They're 2 guys from Ohio. If you haven't heard of 21 Pilots, I don't know what you're doing at this point. Pretty much everyone has heard of 21 Pilots. But the new album, Trench, came out last Friday. It's awesome. Stream it. Buy it. This, again, is not an advertisement. I'm just telling you, it's great.
Go to a concert by yourself. That's impressive, man.
That's how good the music is. And I wanted to not have to worry about anybody. Because when you go to a concert,
you always got to watch out for them.
You always got to watch out for them, especially if they're smaller than you or they're younger than you. And I just didn't want to do it. I just wanted to enjoy the music. My parents drove me all the way down to the Riviera Theater in Chicago. It's on the north side. I forgot what neighborhood it is in. Actually, 2 of the 3 times I've seen them, they were in the Aragon Ballroom and the Riv, which are kitty corner to each other in the same neighborhood. I've seen them twice there. And then the first time I saw them was at the House of Blues. And I brought my little brother, who's a year younger than me, to the show. as well as 2 girls. And my brother was not really a fan of 21 Pilots, but I brought him anyways, and he enjoyed the show. They're a great band. So again, I just wanted to share that. It's not sports related in any way, shape, or form, but 21 Pilots is a great band. We are going to get a call from Anthony Bertuca at 11:10 to talk some Chicago Cubs. So I'm going to leave that until then. I do have some things to say and to ask Anthony about the Cubs. But the Bears, the Bears. The Bears won. What was the score? 48-10. Last weekend was family weekend. Right after the show, my parents took me out to a nice lunch at Winona Family Restaurants, and I was facing the TV. The Bears game wasn't on. The Packers game was on, of course. But the Bears, the ticker, every time the ticker came up, Trubisky threw another touchdown. He threw 6 touchdowns. He went for 358 yards.
That's crazy.
All 6 of his touchdowns, 6 different receivers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we were looking for the ceiling game for Mitchell Trubisky to compare to Mahomes and Mayfield and Rosen and Wentz and Watson. That was it. And I don't care if it was a freshman secondary. I don't care if it was just nothing but third and second stringers. He threw for 6 touchdowns in the NFL to 6 different receivers, and he went 358 yards. Mitch Trubisky at least has shown now that he can be the real deal.
Like you said, it's the NFL. Like throwing 6 touchdowns, that's pretty impressive.
Exactly. I don't care how bad a defense is. It is an NFL defense. Those guys are good enough to play in the NFL. It doesn't matter if they're terrible. It doesn't matter if they're the worst defense in the league. He torched them. He could have not, and then what will we be saying? Oh, he sucks, Or he threw 6 touchdowns, and we're still saying, we should still, the book has not been written on Mitch Trubisky. It hasn't, but that was his ceiling game, and I'm excited. I didn't get to watch it again because I was at lunch, but every time the ticker came up, at one point it was 48-3. They scored a garbage time touchdown. Woo! Khalil Mack, NFC Defensive Player of the Month. That was awesome. Oh, Timberwolves and Heat advanced to brink of blockbuster trade for Jimmy Butler before the deal fell apart on Saturday. I thought I was just getting an update from ESPN telling me that Jimmy Butler was going to be a Heat.
Wait, so it's not?
It's not. So that was kind of dumb. I need to stop looking at my phone during the show.
11th hour it ends.
Wow. Khalil Mack, NFC Defensive Player of the Month. Impressive honors right there. And John Gruden is still sitting up in his office wondering what the heck he was doing when he decided to trade Khalil Mack.
The Raiders are a mess, too. Oh, man, it's just terrible.
Thank you so much, Oakland Raiders. But what were they thinking? I still don't understand it. Pay that man. He's one of the top 10 players in the NFL. He's one of the best at his position, if not the best at his position. And you just trade him away for first-round picks. What the heck? He's 27 years old. He's only 27 years old.
I don't think the Oakland players even knew that was coming either. They were mad.
He's 27 years old at a position that ages incredibly well because you know what? At the end of his 6-year contract, when he's still 33, put him out there for a third down blitz situation, and he's going to get you sacks on a consistent basis. He won't be the same player that he is now, every down, being able to pass protect. But at the end of that contract, he's going to age fine. This man is one of the best defenders in the history of football, and he's a Chicago Bear.
That's a good sign for the Bears.
Feels good, man. It feels good. The Bears are 4-1. They have a bye, 3-1. They're 3-1. I'm getting ahead of myself. They're 3-1 heading into the bye this weekend, which, I actually need to set my fantasy lineup. That's not good. I have a bunch of Bears in my fantasy lineup.
11:03.
I don't want to set it. Wait, when do fantasy lineups close?
Well, it's a start time.
Okay, so it's like new.
Some of them mostly new.
Oh gosh, I need to do that during the next break. Set my fantasy lineup. I of course I'm a homer, so I drafted a bunch of Bears, and now I'm in trouble because
pick up some free agents.
I know. Oh, speaking of my fantasy team, I benched Trubisky last weekend.
For who?
For Tom Brady and all of his 9 fantasy points.
You only had 9.
Only had 9. Mitch Trubisky had 38. Colin is sitting. He's going to join us at 11:25. He was sitting outside. He's the fantasy expert. He was questioning, but I believe he only had 9 points. I lost that week, and I lost it only by maybe 15 points. So if I started Trubisky, I would have won. Oh gosh,
it's Tom Brady though.
It's yeah, that's true. But it was the worst secondary in the league. I should have done it. So 507-457-1615 if you wanna call in. We are gonna have Anthony Bertuca calling in at 11:10 to talk some Cubs. He is a very knowledgeable Cubs fan, and I'm excited to talk to him at 11:10. We were talking about the Warriors with Niels when he was sitting in here, and I think it may have been swept under the rug with all the other sports news that's been going on this summer. The Warriors won the finals last year. I don't know if you know that. The Warriors won the finals last year and then signed Boogie Cousins.
I think that's so underrated that like Cousins coming in. Like people are just acting like Cousins is just like another just small piece. Like no, he's good.
He's a top 10 player in the NBA.
He's really good.
So now you look at that lineup and it feels like I drafted them on 2K with the fantasy draft and made it fixed, and I gave myself the first pick every round. I was just like, okay, so I'm just gonna pick Kevin Durant. Second round, I'm just gonna pick Steph Curry. Oh yeah, and then Boogie Cousins, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. They're all ridiculous. I hate the NBA because of that. I don't know how you can change it. You can't do anything to tell teams they can't sign players or to tell players they can't go to specific teams, but it sucks.
I think it's getting ridiculous for NBA. If they win like 2 more straight titles,
they've won 3 of the last 4 finals, and no one is standing in their way. Who? Maybe Boston. Maybe. But gosh, and now what made it even worse, I said this last season, I didn't want LeBron to go to the West because he might never make it to a finals again.
I think Celtics are a clear favorite in the East.
Exactly.
76ers are okay, but
76ers maybe. But imagine right now what we would be talking about if LeBron James was a 76er instead of a Laker. The conversation may be the 76ers have a shot.
The West is going to be fun, though, man.
The West is going to be fun. Rockets look awesome. Lakers obviously are going to be improved because they signed LeBron James. And then you got the Warriors. You got a Minnesota native and a Minnesota native sitting in right now. So no Bucks fans here, but there are a lot of Bucks fans that go to this school.
Oklahoma City's going to be really good.
Giannis looks awesome.
Yeah.
Have you seen that picture on ESPN of Giannis when he first came into the league?
Yes.
And then now, oh my gosh, I texted one of my buddies who's a Bucks fan. I'm like, is this photoshopped?
He could be an MVP in a couple of years.
It could be. It could. What is it? The Greek Freak? That's his name.
Yeah.
Fear the Deer. The Greek Freak. The NBA is just such a tough league to watch, in my opinion, because you know who's going to win. You know who's going to make it to the playoffs, so there's no need to watch the regular season. And then you know who's going to win the playoffs, so there's no reason to watch the playoffs. Do you disagree?
I think, like this year coming up, I feel like last year you knew like who the conference finals were going to be, basically. Like Cavs, even if they were like a 4 or 5 seed, you knew they were going to find their way and get there.
Yeah.
And then Celtics, even without, you knew Houston, Golden State. But this year I feel like in the West, like the top 4, like with the Lakers now and stuff, I feel like it'll be more fun. I feel like the early rounds of the playoffs will be a little bit more fun.
The biggest story in the NBA right now to me might be, are the Warriors going to go 82-0? Because that's what it feels like. There's not a bigger story in my head, which it's not really a story, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Warriors go 82-0 with the team that they've assembled.
I feel like last year they took some nights off in the regular season. I feel they won't play all those guys all the time.
Okay, but still, even if you say 2 of them, you still have 3 all-star caliber players.
I'll say 13 losses. That's fine.
I think they're gonna. So their record is 73-9. They're gonna beat. No, it's 72-10 because they tied the Bulls record. Correct? I don't remember. All I know is that they lost in the finals, which was awesome.
They might have beat it.
Okay, so their record is 73-9. I wouldn't surprise me if they go 74-8 this season.
You never know.
Yeah.
They'll face tougher competition though with the West.
Having to play LeBron 4 times, having to play the Rockets 4 times. Yeah, it'll be a little bit tougher, but I want to talk about the NBA so bad, and I want the NBA to have parity, and it just doesn't. Look at the NFL. Every single season, 73-9. Thank you, Colin. Every single season, the NFL, there is a team that goes from last to first. Every season. Every season, there is a team that goes from last place to the playoffs. And this year, it might be the Bears. This is probably Anthony Bertuca. I'm going to answer the phone real quick. We're going to send it to break 507-457-1615 if we want a 16-second squeeze. 507-457-1615. I'm going to send it to break right here on the squeeze. You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, produced by Alec Root on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live on 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. Anthony Bertuca, thank you so much for calling in.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Okay, this is one of my good friends from high school. We talk about the Cubs all the time. He goes to Louisville, and he's a very knowledgeable sports fan. So I wanted to get some insight from an outside personality to talk about this Cubs season. So what was obviously you watched the wild card game, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah.
So the whole time, what was your thought process when the offense just couldn't do anything? What were you thinking?
So going into the wild card game, I was not expecting a whole lot. I was already kind of down from the day before. I thought we could maybe still win, but it was the offense just looked bad. The pitching was okay, but the bullpen was bad. It was going into it, I wasn't feeling great about it.
Yeah, going in, I don't think anyone was feeling too good about it. I said earlier on the show that the Cubs did not choke. The Brewers just played out of their mind. Would you agree with that statement? Did the Cubs choke?
I mean, it's tough to say that because the Brewers just feel like the team this year. They feel like that team of destiny is their year. And I don't think that other than the run producing, they were still winning games down the stretch. The Cubs were.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was a complete collapse where they went 0-11 or anything like that. They were 16-13 in the last month. That's not great, but it's not terrible either.
They didn't fall apart.
No. It wasn't like the wheels fell off and the sky is falling, anything like that. They couldn't score, but they still won games. It was just the Brewers just were playing at a godly pace. And
Christian Yelich surpass Javi Baez in every category, and undeniably he will be the unanimous MVP. It would not surprise me at all. So you did not like Javi Baez coming into the season for good reason. He did not perform how he should have, and he swings a lot of pitches he shouldn't. But he did the same thing this season and started connecting. What do you think changed for him this season?
So I think Javi was maybe one of the only guys on the team who was actually impacted by Chili Davis's coaching style coming in. And I think that helped him because normally when you get a hitting coach who played Major League Baseball, they don't try and tweak your mechanics or anything like that. They just tell you, go be you. So that's how it was negative for guys like Wilson Contreras, because Wilson's trying to win the game with every swing. But Javi, you let Javi be Javi, that's what we saw this year. So I think he was swinging a lot still, but it was the pitches he was swinging at weren't as bad as they were in years prior. He was still striking out, but it was he wasn't swinging at that slider in the dirt every single time. He was laying off of it every now and then. And I think that helped him out a lot.
Okay, so you mentioned Chili Davis. Javi Baez is one of the only guys who had a good season this year. I would say every other player on this team either barely met expectations, Anthony Rizzo, or wildly underperformed. Do you think that has any correlation with the acquisition of hiring Chili Davis?
See, I mean, when it comes down to it, they're professional, but athletes. It shouldn't have anything to do with it. But I mean, you look at Boston and how the second they get rid of Chili, I mean, JD helps, but the second they get rid of Chili, their offense goes from abysmal last year to all world. I mean, it's tough to say, maybe that's not happening. Maybe that's happening to the Cubs, too. I mean, one thing we can agree, he did have an impact with the home runs they were hitting because they did not hit as many of those home runs as we're used to with this team. They came with a different approach to the plate, and I think that negatively impacts them.
Yeah, so
I didn't think it was the approach they needed.
So I'm going to run down a couple numbers here. The Cubs were 9th in the league in runs. They were second in the MLB. Sorry. They were 9th in the MLB in runs. They were 2nd in hits. They were 4th in batting average. They were 4th in on-base percentage. They were 22nd in home runs, and they were 13th in slugging percentage. That is a remarkable downturn from a season they had from one season ago. Is that Chili Davis, in your opinion? Was that Chili Davis? Did he change this team from a perennial power hitting, amazing, team to guys who couldn't hit the ball past the infield?
It's tough to say. I think he had an impact on it. But I mean, if we look at the teams the years prior, they almost always seemed like a 3 true outcomes team where they were either going to strike out, hit a home run, or they weren't moving runners still. And Chili's big thing is they were supposed to be moving runners with him, and they still were not able to do that. They were terrible with runners in scoring position this year.
Historically.
And like if you're getting a lot of hits, it's like, well, okay, I mean, the more guys you get on base, the more guys are going to be left in scoring position, but still, it's like, that looks really bad when you're losing games 2-1, and your last 3 losses were all by 1 run, and you couldn't score more than 1 run. That's tough luck.
In 40 games this season, the Cubs scored 1 or 0 runs. That is tied with the Orioles, who lost 114 games.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cubs still won 95 games and made it to the playoffs and almost won a division. I don't understand how that's possible, but that just shows you what this team could have been.
And those numbers you gave earlier, the runs and stuff like that, I feel like that's a little skewed too, because if you look at them, their margin of victory, I bet, was the best when they were winning. They blow teams out when they won. But when they lost, they weren't scoring that night.
Exactly.
Like, their losses were really bad, and their wins were really good. They blow a team out, score 10 runs on them. Next day, they wouldn't score. It's like,
feast or famine.
That's not where you want to be.
Exactly. So thanks again for calling, Anthony Bertucca. This has been great. The literal odds are even on the Cubs signing Bryce Harper this offseason. What are your odds? How likely is it that Bryce Harper is going to be a Cub by the start of the 2019 spring training?
I think he will be, and it really depends on just what Theo wants to do, I feel like, because I think we've seen over the past few years, when Theo wants someone, Theo can get that person. I think they need him. I think they should definitely go after him. And just from like remarks that they've made already, like over this with this press conference the other day, and last year after they signed Darvish, it sounds like they're going to make a real run at him. And if they do, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to get him.
And this is going to be my opinion. I can't see them not being unstoppable next season. They're hopefully going to get a healthy Chris Bryant back. Hopefully, Yu Darvish is coming back. And then you look at that rotation. You have John Lester, Yu Darvish, Kyle Hendricks, Jose Quintana, and now Cole Hamels. That sounds like a pretty good 1 through 5 starting rotation. My opinion.
On paper, it looks awesome, but again, like we saw it this year, like
that's true.
4 of those 5, and it was they didn't perform for the majority of the season.
That's very true.
They got really hot in the last 2 months. Before that, they didn't look that great. So on paper, it looks awesome. The rotation. I think there's still some question marks there with a 35-year-old Lester, a 35-year-old Hamels. That's a little questionable.
So, it's totally unfounded, but what's your prediction next season right now before the possible acquisition of Bryce Harper and before the 2018 season is even over? What do you expect the Cubs to do next season?
I mean, they need to win the division. They came 1 game away from winning it this year. I don't see if Bryant's healthy, if Darvish is healthy, if all that happens, why they shouldn't win it this year. And you look at Milwaukee. Milwaukee had every single thing go right for them this year. There was not one little hiccup they had or anything. They had their little losing streak, but that happens to everyone. I'm talking injuries, anything like that. They didn't have anything. And all these players played to their top of their potential. I think we're going to see some regression from Milwaukee next year, and I think they can easily win the division.
Didn't they lose Suter to Tommy John, the pitcher?
Which one?
I could be wrong. Suter, wasn't he a pitcher for the?
Yeah, but again, like their pitching rotation isn't what they were banking on.
Right.
You know, their rotation wasn't good coming into the year. So it's like, you know what, they knew what they were going to do. They were going to just try and outscore everybody and then try and get to the bullpen.
Yeah.
That was their plan all year. It wasn't going to be 8 innings from a dominant starter.
And
They're like, no, let's get Chastain or whoever to the 4th or 5th, throw Hader in, then throw Knebel, and, you know, see where it goes from there.
Hader was unbelievable
Yeah.
too. Like, you just set him up every single time. You can just throw him up whenever you need, and he's gonna pretty much. He could win you a game if you're already up 1 or 2.
yeah, who foresaw Josh Hader having one of the best relief seasons ever, and who foresaw Christian Yelich performing like Babe Ruth? I didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I
Hader is reminding me of like 2016, 2015 Andrew Miller right now, where they can just throw him out there for multiple innings, and he's just getting everybody out.
he's the bullpen Chris Sale.
Yeah.
He's striking everyone out. What was his K per 9 this season? I think it was just under 18. That's 2 strikeouts per inning. That's insane. He's unhittable. He came into that game 163, and you knew it was over.
Was he the guy that struck out that guy that snapped his bat over his knee on the Rockies?
Yes.
That was so funny. I was laughing.
That's what he does to you. That's what he does to you.
Man.
So thank you, Anthony Bertuca, for calling in. This was great, and have a nice remainder of the first semester over there at Louisville.
All right, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Okay, that was some good stuff from Anthony Bertuca. He's a very knowledgeable sports fan, and his accent is awesome.
I should have asked him what he thought about Richard Patino.
Oh, yeah, a little Louisville action. But we're going to take us a break here, 507-457-1615. We need one more caller for the 16-second squeeze. This is your chance to win one of these pretty cool T-shirts. 507-457-1615 is the number. Please call. We're going to send it to break right here, 507-457-1615, if you want to win a T-shirt here on the squeeze. Well, you are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, produced by Alec Rude on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live on 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. Well, I guess nobody wants to win the T-shirt because we didn't get a call for the 16-second squeeze. There's still one more chance, everybody out there. You only have half an hour left to win a cool squeeze T-shirt. I'm not going to give you the number because don't call. We are sitting in here with Colin Sturr. Is that correct?
Stare, but
Stare. Okay.
It gets botched a lot. It's kind of a weird spelling.
Okay,
so.
Colin Stare. That's 2 L's, and that is Steher. Follow him on Twitter at Colin Stare.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, and he is the co-host of the newest sports radio show on KSMR Radio called Two Guys, One Take. That's with Steven Reamer. He's a junior as well.
Yeah, we're both juniors.
You're both juniors, and that was your first episode. How'd the first episode go?
It went really well, actually. I mean, it's nice to obviously, like, with you guys, you know, it's like 2 people going, so it's like it turns it more into like a conversation. I kind of like that. It's a little bit easier to get through whenever, you know, just bouncing ideas off each other and yeah.
And that's every Thursday at 4:30. It's an hour long. It is not on a YouTube live stream yet.
Not yet. No.
Maybe we'll get it there, but you can listen to that on 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, or you can come down to the game room and listen to it live right in front of their eyes. That is Two Guys, One Take every Thursday from 4:30 to 5:30. The reason Colin is in here is because I am very lacking in my NHL knowledge, and he is not. Neither is Alec Rude. They're very knowledgeable in the sports, and I asked Colin to come in so that Alec could actually talk to somebody about hockey. So the floor is yours. I'm gonna go take a little break and listen to the good stuff coming from these 2 guys' mouths. Here's Colin Stare and Alec Rude on NHL hockey.
All right, Alec. You've been watching. I'm sure.
Oh, I love hockey.
You love hockey. It's hockey season.
It's a good start.
We're not gonna go into it, but Gopher hockey last night, getting the big tie against the #1 team in the nation.
Yeah, I had to drive back to campus after the second period. I was home watching the Gopher Iowa football game. When did UMB score their third goal? They tied. Or their first goal.
Oh,
in the third
I
period.
don't even know.
It must have been later though.
I didn't watch, but I just saw the highlights.
It's a big tie.
Yeah, it's big for them. Yeah, but anyway, we're gonna take it over to the NHL. We're gonna start off with Anthony's hometown team, although I guess he's not a huge Blackhawks fan. But Jonathan Toews, he has been on fire to start the season, and this is something that we haven't seen out of Jonathan Toews for at least 2 years.
Well, that's what
at least 2 years.
Yeah, I was talking with Anthony earlier, and Anthony's like, I go, Anthony, the Blackhawks are actually like good this year, and he goes, no, they're not. And I was like, they're 2-0. Toews and Kane's, he's doing okay.
Kane's doing pretty good too.
Yeah, but Toews, like, Blackhawks 2 years now have just kind of been down. Like,
right.
You got to know that they're coming in with. And the Central's hard. That's a hard
Central
division.
is going to be tough this year. I mean, Winnipeg, Nashville, obviously they're still the favorites. That's why I'm looking at the Wild's chances right now. I'm just like, man, like it's going to be tough. Like the Hawks are going to be gunning. Dallas is actually playing all right now too. Jamie Benn is playing really well.
Well, 4 of the 6 teams that are still undefeated are in our division.
Yeah.
Dallas, Colorado, Chicago, Nashville.
Right.
And you have Winnipeg and St. Louis, who could both
St. Louis
win the cup, and then the
exactly.
Wild.
Dude, it's not looking good for the Wild right now. It's gonna be tight this year in the Central.
It could get last.
But anyway, back to Jonathan Toews. He scored a hat trick last night, and that was amazing in itself. He has 4 goals now. He's leading the NHL. I mean, there's a couple of guys tied with him too. But I feel like the Hawks, whenever Jonathan Toews is playing his best hockey, the Hawks are playing their best hockey. Granted, that 1 year Panarin and Kane lit it up. They were doing unreal, but they still ended up getting swept by the Predators that 1 year, 2 years ago or whatever now. And even the year before, Panarin and Kane had a good year, but they lost in 7 games to St. Louis. So when Captain Clutch is on fire, the Hawks seem to be on fire too. And I mean, if he can continue that, we could actually see the Hawks be a very good playoff contender.
I think Toews is the captain too. Like his leadership, I think that's so underlooked by the league.
Oh,
like you look at all the other captains, like they say like Crosby and Ovechkin are just such good captains. Like I think Toews is probably one of the best captains.
I agree.
Yeah. But no, like you said, they play Toronto tonight at 6. Actually, that's in Chicago, so that'll be a very fun one with Tavares and Matthews.
Matthews playing unreal too, so it'll be a dogfight for sure.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting. The rookie of the year, maybe early
to tell, but this kid, his name is Elias Pettersson. He's first-year Swedish player for the Vancouver Canucks. Kid is electric.
Yeah.
He's got a ton of skill, and he's right up there with Toews right now, playing unreal. Like it's crazy that like someone that young can just jump right into the league. And yeah, I mean,
just the way he moves kind of reminds you like Brock Besser, kind of like just like
Yeah.
the way he like scores and stuff. Like they're obviously not really this too similar, but
right. They're almost highlight reel goals every time, it feels like. I mean, Brock Besser's got an absolute cannon of a shot just like that. So I mean, Vancouver, I mean, they haven't been great in recent years, but the future looks bright out there in out west. So yeah, look out for him this year. And next we're gonna talk about Cup favorites. We kind of already been talking
going
about
back
it a
and
little
forth.
bit.
Eastern
Yeah.
Conference, we haven't talked. What are your thoughts kind of on the East?
And
I think the East, kind of the playoff teams are more you could predict, but then the
Metro's gonna be tough again this year. You know, Caps, Penguins, Flyers are gonna be okay again.
Yeah, they're saying the Flyers are going to be really good.
Yeah,
I can't.
Tampa and Toronto. I mean, I think Toronto and Tampa have a shot to go to the Cup, as well as
Buffalo's kind of taking a step forward too.
Yeah, you can't count Pittsburgh out ever. Like it's tough to say right now, but I think I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go Toronto, and in the West, I'm thinking Winnipeg. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck, he played his butt off yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he made like 40 saves, and they won 5-1. They only had 25 shots on net, and I can't even remember who they played now last night, but whoever they played, they got outshot terribly. Well, give me 1 second.
Yeah, I can't.
They played.
I can't remember either. But no, they've been.
Never mind. That was it Thursday night, maybe?
Yeah, because they played 2 games. They're both 1-1.
Sorry. Yeah, this was Thursday night. They played the Blues, obviously another very good team. Blues had 42 shots on net. Jets had 25, and the Blues lost 5-1.
That's crazy.
Like,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. Western Conference, I'm gonna predict Nashville comes out of the West,
That's a good pick.
and then I'll give Pittsburgh a chance this year. I'll say Pittsburgh gets back, but no, I think like some teams like it's really really early in the season, but the Eastern, I feel like there's so many teams that are like Montreal and Ottawa, and
Like they could be good, they could be not.
Florida even you're not really sure exactly, but. The Wild, what are your kind of thoughts early on the Wild being a Minnesota State of hockey?
Yeah, we kind of already talked a little bit about it because the Central is going to be so tough this year. I mean, two kind of hard fought losses. They played with Colorado for most of the game. I don't know if they got 2 empty netters or maybe it was just one.
I think it was just one.
Just one. But anyway, I mean, like it was 2-1 for most of the game. And then they lost to Colorado. And then last night, obviously, losing to Vegas in a shootout, which was a good game. Sucked because we led the whole entire game.
I watched that
and
one.
They scored with the minute left and the empty net. But I mean, I think the problem with the Wild right now is they're not scoring enough. Like they only had 1 goal in the first game, and obviously they only had 1 goal last night. They couldn't even score a goal in the shootout. Like it was only the one scored by Eric Holla that was the only goal. So unless the Wild can get the goal scoring figured out, it's looking like a tough year.
And I was talking to my dad and I were talking hockey last night, and we were talking about just watching the Wild. Who would you rather more watch, the Wild or when you watch Vegas play a big game, when you watch Winnipeg, they all have stars. The Wild just do not have that one star. I feel.
Yeah, I mean last year obviously Zucker had a big season. Eric Stahl was phenomenal, but
even look at the Penguins. You got Crosby, you got Malkin, you got Kessler, you got Letang. You could even say Genzel. Genzel would probably be one of the.
And I know it's early, but I don't see Eric Stahl scoring 42 goals or whatever he had again last year.
And I think Parise's kind of falling down. I think.
Yeah.
I think Suter's getting older, so it's.
I was just talking yesterday. I think I was talking with Donnie Nadeau, the sports information director, and said we might have to start blowing it up eventually. And it's tough because you really can't because Parise and Suter's contracts, but it's not
well, you can't take away they've made the playoffs,
right? Yeah, I mean, they're right up there with the playoff streak, but they're not doing anything with it. They just make the playoffs every year. It's not so I mean, obviously the defense is not a problem. The defense looked really good. Dubnyk has been playing really good. It's just the goal scoring. We need scorers, and like you're saying, we don't have that Patrick Kane, or we don't have Jonathan or John Tavares or something we don't have that kind of guy who's going to step up and just take over a game. So,
But we were talking earlier, Blackhawks.
Blackhawks, they look good, right?
Blackhawks looking all
We were
right.
talking about Jonathan Taves, one of the best leaders in the NHL. That's what we can.
2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been to a Blackhawks game ever?
Never
Never.
in my life. Yeah,
Wow.
I also didn't go to not one of the 3 parades or anything. All I remember is
That
just
place looked
You
nuts
just-
though when that
Oh,
happened.
I'm
neglecting the fact that they play there or what?
I'm kidding.
I'm
That's why I got up and left and sat there with a
Yeah.
blank face because
Yeah.
I probably should learn some hockey stuff, but I just don't know anything about
That's
hockey.
all right.
Okay, it'll come.
It'll come.
Well,
It'll
yeah.
come. Hopefully. Thank you so much, Colin. That was some really nice stuff there between the two of you, and I learned some stuff. I hope you did too out there listening. 507-457-1615. That's the phone number. We only have 20 minutes left. We still have to get to our NFL picks with Claire and Teresa. They had a pretty good week. So did you, and so did I. I'm still in first place. 507-457-1615. If you want to win a Squeeze T-shirt on the Squeeze. Colin, I actually owe you a Squeeze T-shirt for coming in and sitting in with us in studio. So I'll get you that after the show. And 507-457-1615. Colin, thank you so much for sitting in. Say
Anytime,
Okay.
anytime, and tune in
There you
on Thursdays at 4:30 to Two Guys One Take.
two guys, one take. Okay. 507-457-1615. We're going to send it to break right now. You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, produced by Alec Rude on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live on 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. This is Lisa from Elmwood Park. Say hi to the people, Lisa from Elmwood Park.
Good morning.
Okay, you are on the 16-second squeeze. The last contestant remaining is Desmond. So that's all you get. Desmond had 16 seconds to name as many track and field events as he could. Track and field events in 16 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
Long jump, high jump, the shot put, javelin, 100-meter dash, 50-meter dash, the 1800, the 1200, the
Okay, that's
A pole vault?
that. Okay, we'll give you pole vault. How much?
9 with pole vault.
9 with pole vault. Thank you, Lisa from Elmwood Park. That was 9 track and field events. Stay tuned to see if you are the lucky winner of that Squeeze t-shirt.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So that was 9 from Lisa from Elmwood Park. Here is Desmond with what might be the most
Unbelievable.
16-second squeeze performance that we've ever had. So here we go. Des had 16 seconds to name as many track and field events as he could. If the thing would play.
Long jump, triple jump, high jump, pole vault, shot put, discus, hammer, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, pentathlon, decathlon, javelin, hammer,
Done.
That was 20. He got 20 track and field events in
Minus
16
11.
seconds. So that's a minus 11 for Lisa from Elmwood Park. No relation to Lisa from Winona, who was our winner last weekend. You didn't
No
win.
relation.
Yeah, no relation. You didn't win this weekend at minus 11. So Christina from Chicago, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's Squeeze t-shirt. Tune in every week for the 16-second squeeze for your chance to win a Squeeze t-shirt. And Christina, congratulations for your fine work. Hopefully one day we will get a positive player on the 16-second squeeze, because so far in the 3 weeks that we've had a -3 winner, a -1 winner, and an even winner. Still nobody has won. Colin actually almost won last week, but Lisa from Winona. Lisa from Winona.
Christina won?
Christina won.
Scott won.
Scott won. I apologize. Christina from Chicago. Scott from Chicago. We have a really wide listener base in Chicago. This is impressive. Scott from Chicago was even against Teresa in the house pets. I apologize, Scott. Don't call in angry that he was even. Scott from Chicago. Congratulations on winning the t-shirt. It's already 11:43. Boy, did we have fun today. We're really behind schedule, so we are doing this later than we normally do, but we have to go over our picks from last weekend. I'm going to start by playing Claire and Teresa's picks from last weekend. They did end up going 5-3 with these picks that you are about to hear.
Eagles versus Titans.
Oh, jeez. Titans kind of sound cool.
Yeah, the Eagles are mean, so let's go with the Titans.
And apparently we never pick the Eagles, so bye.
Bills versus Packers.
Packers. I'm actually a Packers fan.
Ew, no.
Yeah, the Packers.
Claire.
Yeah.
I can't. Okay.
The Packers.
Lions versus Cowboys.
Howdy. Yeehaw.
That makes me not want to pick them because you said that. What was the team?
Yeah, wait, I forgot.
Lions versus Cowboys.
Have we picked the Lions yet?
No. Let's do
They
Lions.
won their last game, right?
They did.
Oh,
Okay, so we totally paid attention.
Yeah.
I love this for us.
Lions.
Buccaneers versus the Bears.
Oh, did the Buccaneers win when we picked them? Last
Yes? No.
week? No, they didn't win.
Okay.
Let's just pick the Bears because they won last week.
All right, and I
That's a
guess,
good pick.
Chicago,
Yeah.
Anthony.
The Bears.
All right.
Browns versus Raiders.
I don't know these
Either
teams.
of them. The
What's
Raiders
a
are kind
what's
of
a
weird.
rate? What is
Raider
Raider?
and mean.
It's like a pirate.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
too mean.
gross.
Yeah.
No.
What's the other team? That one.
Browns.
Browns.
Okay.
Okay, the Browns.
I love a good color.
Ravens versus Steelers.
Didn't the Steelers win the Super Bowl like about 10 years ago?
We should stop talking about Super Bowls because we always get it wrong.
No.
Wait,
yeah.
can you repeat them again?
Ravens versus Steelers.
Oh, the
How about Ravens?
Yeah, that's an animal.
Yeah.
Ravens.
Dolphins against the Patriots.
Dolphins!
And Chiefs against the Broncos.
I don't really like the Broncos just because a Bronco, really?
I think that the Chiefs won against the Chiefs played the 49ers last week, so let's go with the Chiefs.
Okay, I just really don't like Broncos because
Yeah,
it sounds dumb.
we've decided on the Chiefs.
Okay, so you heard it here first. Broncos sounds dumb for the second week in a row. They went 5-3 with
That's
those
impressive.
picks. You know who else went 5-3? Alec. And Alec used actual rational thought and research and they picked the color. So
I'll bounce back this week.
Okay, both of them went 5-3, very impressive numbers. I went 6-2 that week, so that brings me to a total of 11-5 through 2 weeks. Alec is in second with 9-7 record, and Claire and Teresa are in last place at a fresh 8-8.
They're coming.
They're coming though. They're sticking with us. And here is this week's predictions from Claire and Teresa.
At Saints.
The Saints are like good and holy. They sound like they could win. Yes. All right, the Saints.
Rams at Seahawks.
I love the Seahawks jersey colors.
Are those the lions?
Yes.
Neon green ones?
Yeah, the Seahawks.
100% Seahawks.
Raiders at Chargers.
I honestly have no idea. I feel like we
Did we
Raiders
pick
in
the
past.
the Radars?
The Radars.
Wow, love that.
We can pick the Raiders. That'll work.
Yeah.
Jaguars at Chiefs.
Got like the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Jaguars.
Yep.
Because they're animal.
Vikings at Eagles.
Those games are mean.
I feel like we have to pick Vikings because like we're in Minnesota.
Yeah, so the Vikings.
Yeah.
Packers at Lions.
Packers. I'm a Packers fan.
Okay, well, that's the recording. I'm not getting any buzzes on my phone. The new iOS 11 or whatever, iOS 12, the sound recording must be messed up because it updated that. So that I'm sorry for those unpleasant noises coming from the speakers. I'll just go over their picks again. We didn't get all the way through with that gross sound on the recording. They picked the Saints over the Redskins. They picked the Seahawks over the Rams, the Raiders over the Chargers, the Jaguars over the Chiefs, the Vikings over the Eagles, the Packers over the Lions, the Giants over the Panthers, and the Browns over the Ravens. Alec, what do you got this week?
I have the Saints defeating the Redskins. I think Mark Ingram coming back. I don't think that's very looked at by many people, but like looking at fantasy like last year, like he was a top 10 running back even with Kamara. So I think he's going to be big for them. I have the Rams being the Seahawks, but I would not be surprised if the Seahawks somehow pull away because in Seattle, you never know there. Raiders at Chargers. I'll pick the Chargers. Chargers are kind of my AFC team. I love Phillip Rivers. Jaguars at the Chiefs. I'm going to say the Jags, and I think Leonard Fournette being out is going to actually kind of help them because I think TJ Yeldon is the real deal. So I think he's going to have a really good game. Vikings at Eagles. I hate to say it, but I'm going to say the Eagles. But after this game, I say the Vikings then turn it around.
Okay.
And my buddy and I were talking about NFC North predictions, and I had the Vikings going at 9-6-1, Packers 9-6-1, Bears 9-7, Lions 7-9.
Wow,
you might not like that, but
quite a good division.
They're all kind of together on that 500 range, and he thought I was silly. I don't know why.
I think the craziest thing in that prediction is that you think the Lions are going to win 7 games.
I don't know. I think they'll be like the Dolphins and all of them.
Yeah, they did.
And then Packers and Lions, I'll say the Packers, but I think this is going to be a very close game since it's in Detroit. Giants and Panthers, I'm going to say Panthers. I think Cam Newton has his best game of the year. Ravens and Browns, I'm going to say Ravens because I just think their defense is too good for Baker Mayfield making his first home start.
Okay, the Saints are at home this week, which is my main reason for picking them. Drew Brees at home is unstoppable, so I have the Saints over the Redskins. Rams are going to walk into CenturyLink Field and beat the Seahawks, which is not necessarily a tough thing to do anymore. That Earl Thomas clip is pretty telling of how their season is going so far. I have the Chargers over the Raiders. There's no real surprise there. I have the Chiefs over the Jaguars. I'm the only one of the three of us that are picking the Chiefs over the Jaguars, which is surprising because they're the best team in the AFC. But best offense in the AFC going against the best defense in the AFC should be a very fun battle there. But the Chiefs are at home. So that's, again, one of the main reasons why I pick them. Eagles over the Vikings. I was very surprised to hear that Mr. Viking over here picked the Eagles. Colin, what do you think?
Gotta go Vikes.
Okay.
Gotta go Vikes because if they don't win today, I'm getting scared. I'm really getting scared.
I could imagine.
Patriots.
I could imagine.
In New England.
Yep. Okay. So I picked the Eagles over the Vikings. I picked the Lions over the Packers. I don't know. Again, the Lions are at home. The Packers are all three of their starting wide receivers are out for this game. They have
Randall Cobb.
they have 3 practically.
Devontae Adams is out.
He's out.
Adams is back.
Oh, Adams is back.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
I
I
found
was
out
like, that is trouble.
Are you
Adams.
sure?
I was watching fantasy this morning, and he's going to play.
But partly injured, maybe. He might not be as
Okay,
effective.
yeah, and then you still have Aaron Rodgers with that bum knee. And he hasn't looked good. He hasn't looked good as he could.
Have you heard of that receiver Geronimo Allison? Have you heard of him?
No,
He's not bad.
He catches like 8 balls a game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have the Lions over the Packers. I had thought that their wide receiving core was dead, but I guess they're not. I have the Giants over the Panthers. I'm just feeling that one. I'm feeling that the Giants can go to Carolina and take the Panthers down. I love Cam Newton.
Eli just doesn't look good.
He's never looked good, though.
1-2 Super Bowl.
I know, but even in those 2 Super Bowl years, he didn't look good. So, I mean, there were wild card teams both of those years.
It's like 9-7.
Yeah,
Maybe both years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's basically looked above average
Right.
like his whole career, and then in the Super Bowl he's an MVP 2 times. But I have this weird thing with Cam Newton. I love him. I think he's a great player, but I can't trust him. Like I can never trust him to stay healthy.
Besides that one year that Carolina went to the NFC title
he
game,
won,
I feel
he
I
won
just
the MVP.
they haven't done. McCaffrey's huge, though. That was
Yeah.
probably their best draft pick ever.
I have him on my fantasy team.
Did you switch it?
He's awesome.
Oh shoot! I still haven't done the fantasy thing.
I got one
I think
question
this
for you
might be
guys.
a lead.
I'm debating on. So I need advice on my flex. I have Diggs in.
Fantasy show guy, need advice.
I know. Calm down. I have Diggs in the flex right now, but I also have TJ Yeldon on the bench.
TJ Yeldon. Yeah, TJ Yeldon.
TJ Yeldon?
Yeah.
So, all right.
For sure. And then finally, I have the Ravens over the Browns. I said it last week. I don't think Baker Mayfield's the real deal, and he didn't show that he was last week. The Ravens are looking like the real deal. Yeah. Joe Flacco is throwing the ball downfield better than anybody this year, and more than anybody this year. I don't think the Browns are gonna be able to stop that offensive attack. So this is a big week for us because the girls took the Seahawks. Neither of us did. The girls took the Raiders. Neither of us did. I took the Chiefs, and you guys didn't. They took the Vikings, and neither of us did. I picked the Lions, and neither of you guys did. You picked the Panthers. So this is it could be a big shakeup week.
Hey, what happened with the Patriots last week? I thought they were gonna fall.
They still can. I mean, that's actually something to talk about. The Patriots play the Bears in a couple weeks.
That's gonna be nuts.
And
at
Soldier Field. And when you said it last week, it was, the Patriots. You should be scared. I'm not scared of the Patriots at this point. The defense is too good.
Who do the Patriots play this week?
The Patriots. We don't have the pick this week. I don't know who they play. I know the Bucks are the other team with the bye. No, the Bucks are the only other team with a bye. I don't know if you want to look it up. So
they played Thursday.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Well, again, this Little Sisters of the Poor.
We were just talking about it.
They looked good though.
I don't know. Did you see that awesome video clip of Rob Gronkowski?
Yes.
Staring off into space.
The best quote I saw on it was, "Man, I'm never eating Josh Gordon's brownies again," because he just like zoned. It's so funny.
Yeah, that was. If you want to look it up, you just probably look up Rob Gronkowski face. I don't know. So enough NFL. We didn't get to the next up for the Cardinals, but I do want to talk about something. I talked with my dad for maybe 40 minutes after the wild card game the next morning, and he asked me why pinch hit Jason Hayward with the bases loaded instead of Kyle Hendrick. Well, that would be obvious. Instead of Kyle Schwarber. And I asked him, do you know the story of Kyle Schwarber's season thus far? And he didn't. WRC plus is a way to calculate the offensive prowess of an MLB player. It is on a scale of 100, and then every point up is 1% better than league average. 100 is league average, and every point lower is 1 percentage point lower than league average. So if you're a 100 WRC plus player, you are an average MLB player. Pretty simple, right? Anything above average is above average. 150 is remarkable, and that's around where Christian Yelich was all season long. We're going to look at the WRC plus of Kyle Schwarber in critical situations, which I believe high leverage and medium leverage situations, which I believe is runners in scoring position with 2 or more outs. I believe that's it. It might be 1 or 2 or 3 out. I don't know exactly. His WRC plus is not 100. It's not 62, which would be bad. It's not even 0, which would be abysmal. His WRC plus this season in high and medium leverage situations was a league destroying -62 runs created plus. -62. 62 would be gross. 0 would be terrible. He's way below that at -62. The other players on this list, Alcides Escobar at -3 is the next worst. Chris Davis at 9. He had one of the worst, not Crush Davis, not Athletics Chris Davis, but Baltimore Orioles Chris Davis, who had one of the worst seasons in the history of baseball statistically. So bad. Malik Smith, James McCann, Brian Dozier. He got traded to the Twins or to the Dodgers.
He did start off strong, but then
Addison Russell, Kendrys Morales, Adam Engel, and Gorkys Hernandez. Kyle Schwarber should never, ever, 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 ever again be on a list with those names for offensive output. He had the worst. His normal runs created plus was 199 points better than his runs created plus with runners in scoring position. I can't even fathom. I can't put it out and paint the picture for you of how bad that was. This season, his 2 RBIs that came in a high or medium leverage situation were both walks with the bases loaded. He didn't do anything this year. A guy who was regarded as a clutch hitter in 2015 playoffs, in the 2016 World Series. He was the clutch hitter, was the worst clutch hitter in the history of baseball.
I feel like at that point in the game too, you just wanted like a base hit or something. Like
and
Schwarber,
he's not a base hit.
Even just looking at him, Hayward's a guy that's just gonna get you maybe a line drive to the outfield or something that can score you some runs.
It helps. It brings upon legitimate questions on whether or not some of these Cubs are going to be Cubs at the end of this season, at the end of this offseason. Kyle Schwarber made great strides as an outfielder this year. He actually was one of the better outfielders this season in defensive runs saved. But that output offensively, that's what he's supposed to be. That's what you were going to give him a contract to do in 3 years.
And that's why you said the Cubs getting shut out or having 1 run. That's why he's there. He's not like fielding, like it's important in the MLB, but you need hitters.
He's there to hit.
Yeah.
He's there to hit, and he didn't hit. It's remarkable how bad this is. I wish I understood it better so that I could make you understand it better. -62. 100 is league average. It's a 162% negative player.
Sounds like a crazy golf tournament scored.
-62. No, but gosh, I don't know how to talk about it any longer. Just know that it's bad and it doesn't make sense. It's unrequited in baseball.
Is there any Cubs for the contracts? Are they coming up? Is there any like big names?
No, all the young ones are still in arbitration. Cole Hamels, they can pick up the option, which if they don't pick up the option, it's $6 million. If they do pick up the option, it's $20 million. So in essence, it's only $14 million that you would be, paying him more. So Cole Hamels for $14 million sounds good to me, especially with the second half that he had with a sub-2 ERA post All-Star break since once he became a Cub. That's looking pretty good. And that's about it for key Cubs. John Lester has 3 years on his contract. Jason Hayward has 3 years on his contract. Yu Darvish has 5 years on his contract.
You're gonna see trades out of them, you think?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of referencing earlier. I think it's very likely that Kyle Schwarber, Ian Happ, Addison Russell, Albert Almora, any one of those guys is expendable. Addison Russell, 40-game suspension. I would hope that he never plays another game in a Cubs uniform. I think it's hard to believe. He's going to probably have to play another game in a Cubs uniform to build up his trade stock.
Yeah.
You would hope that he plays for the Cubs for about a month, hits 390, 452, and 620, so that you can trade him for a lot of good prospects. That's what you hope, but it might not happen. He's going to have to play for the Cubs, and then hopefully he'll be out of here. That's it'll be hard to believe that he doesn't play again for a Cubs uniform but it will also be hard to believe that he finishes next year in a Cubs uniform.
What did he do
what I'm
again?
saying. He multiple domestic abuse allegations against Addison Russell from his wife, Melissa Reedy Russell, ex-wife, sorry, Melissa Reedy. They have a kid, and it's just a very tricky situation, and it's tough to root for him. And you don't root for him anymore, is my opinion. You don't root for him at all. You can root for the uniform, and that's about it. Don't root for the person. Well, it's 12:01. This is officially the first squeeze we've ever done that went past noon because we had so much stuff to talk about. 507 Oh, wait. Why was I about to give the phone number? You were listening.
3-hour show.
Perfect. Let's just keep it going. You were listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi, produced by Alec Rude on KSMR Radio, broadcasting live on 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. Thank you so much to Alec, my producer. Thank you to Anthony Bertuca for calling in. Thank you to Niels Anderson for sitting in. And thank you to Colin Stair. Stair?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Colin Stair for sitting in as well. Don't forget to listen to Colin and Steven's show, Two Guys, One Take, every Thursday from 4:30 to 5:30 on the two frequencies here in Winona, Minnesota. Thank you so much for listening. We will not be back on the air next weekend, for it is fall break, but in 2 weekends we will be right back on these airwaves. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to tune in next show.